So you just finished watching a short and funny but very informative little video about modifiers. I want you to take out your notebooks and be prepared to take notes, as this will be on the quiz later this week. We are going to further delve into these types of modifier errors, how to recognize them and correct them in our writing. These are the types of things that when you read a sentence, it makes you go, this doesn't sound quite right, but you're not sure why it doesn't sound right until you start to dissect and realize, oh, it's a modifier error. So let's start with a basic definition. What is a modifier? Now, a modifier can be a lot of things. It could be adverbs or adjectives or, subordinate clauses and all kinds of things. But the basic definition is a word, a phrase, or a clause that will add information to a sentence. Basically, if you take out this modifier, you can still have the complete sentence, but it will add details that often are pertinent to the topic. There are several different kinds of modifier errors. There are three main types. The first kind is the dangling modifier. This is when you have a word, a phrase, or a clause as part of your sentence that actually doesn't refer to anything in the sentence. You think about a common modifier, which is an adjective, and imagine if you had a sentence that said the red. Red would be the modifying word, but the red what? There's nothing that follows after. Now, obviously, in that simplistic of an example, we realize that, that doesn't work. But the same concept can be applied to more complicated sentence structures, and we don't always realize that modifiers might be dangling, and they might not have something that they are actually modifying. A squinting modifier is when you have too many things that a modifier could possibly modify. And this modifier is usually between these two things, and you're not sure. Is it talking about the thing that comes before or the thing that comes after? And finally, a misplaced modifier. This is when there's a modifier in a sentence, but it's not near the thing that it modifies, and so you're unsure of what it's really referring to. So now let's take a look at some examples. And remember, you can pause this video anytime to write things down. So the first example is a dangling modifier. After swimming at the beach, it was decided to have a picnic. This is a dangling modifier, the phrase after swimming at a beach, it was decided to have a picnic. We don't have any context for who decided what. And so we can correct that by saying, after swimming at the beach, we decided to have a picnic. The phrase after swimming at the beach in the first sentence doesn't connect to anything. Who was swimming? When did it happen? We have the when after, we just don't have the who. So we add that pronoun we to correct that dangling modifier. We also have a squinting modifier, and oftentimes squinting modifiers are adverbs, single words. So we have the sentence, jumping up and down quickly entertained him. And at first glance, this sentence makes sense. When you read it out loud, it doesn't sound weird at first, but if you dissect it a little bit further, you ask yourself the question, well, what's the modifier in this sentence? The word quickly, the adverb. Then you have to ask yourself, does quickly modify the jumping or the entertained? Because we have two verbs in that sentence. Is he jumping up and down quickly, or is he entertained quickly? As you can see, it's not clear which part of the sentence the modifier is connected to, because it's between the two. So we can correct the sentence one of many ways, and these are just two of the ways. We can say, quickly jumping up and down entertained him. That's grammatically correct, but it kind of has an awkward syntax as you read it. And so a better way to modify or to change this sentence is, he was entertained by quickly jumping up and down. We have the quickly with the jumping up and down, and we have that little transition word by to show the connection of the two ideas, that one follows the other. And finally, we have misplaced modifiers, and these can actually get quite humorous. Flying over the peak, I saw an eagle with my binoculars. If we dissect this phrase, we realize there's two misplaced modifiers. The first one is probably the most obvious. Flying over the peak I saw. This would imply that I was flying over the peak. Was I in a helicopter? Was I flapping my wings? Who knows? But the second and slightly less obvious misplaced modifier is with my binoculars. Because it wouldn't occur to us that an eagle would have my binoculars, we read that sentence and we understand that the binoculars are with me. However, this is still a technical case of a missing or misplaced modifier, because we have the modifying phrase with my binoculars right next to the word eagle. The syntax would imply that the eagle has your binoculars, which obviously is not possible. We want to rearrange the sentence so both misplaced modifiers belong with the thing that they're modifying. So who has the binoculars? I do. And who's flying over the peak? The eagle. So we're going to switch those phrases around to match and to be next to the noun that they are modifying. With my binoculars, I saw an eagle flying over a peak. Now it's clear that I'm using my binoculars and the eagle is flying over the peak. So those are some examples for you. We're going to take the next few minutes and you are going to work in groups of 2 or 3 to do your practice worksheet. I'm going to be circling around the room to answer any questions you might have. On this practice worksheet, you're given a list of 10 sentences with misplaced, dangling, or squinting modifiers. You have 2 sets of instructions. The first piece is to underline the modifying phrase that's misplaced, dangling, or squinting. And the second piece is to rewrite the sentence so that the modifier is used correctly. Keep in mind you might have to add some words to make it sound good or to clarify, especially with a dangling modifier. A dangling modifier won't have anything in the sentence that it's modifying. You're going to need to add some words or a word so it's clear what the modifier is connected to. So go ahead and pause this video and get started on that, and I will be around to help you out. All right, whoops, let me go back here. We finished our worksheet. You guys all did a great job. I want to just briefly go over what we're going to be doing for the last activity of the class. This is kind of a fun one. Like I said earlier, misplaced modifiers and dangling modifiers can quite often be humorous because it modifies things that it's not intended to modify, and it can make the meaning of the sentence quite funny. I just did a quick Google search for some cartoons, and here are some that popped up. So I saw this house next to a guy that was black and blue. You saw a black and blue guy? No, what are you talking about? As you can see there, the phrase black and blue should be modifying the word house, but it's near the word guy, so it's a very confusing misplaced modifier. Here's another one. The waiter served a piece of cake to the man with a cherry on top. Why is there a cherry on my head? This is all wrong. Again, a misplaced modifier. The cherry on top should be next to the piece of cake in the sentence. Or how about this one? Hanging in the art gallery, my friend was delighted by the painting. Why, yes, that's definitely what we do when we go to art galleries. We hang out. We just don't hang by the pictures. This one's probably my favorite. A cop just knocked on my door and told me that my dogs were chasing people on bikes. I told him, that's impossible. My dogs don't even own bikes. Can you imagine? Have a little picture in your head now of dogs riding bikes? And waiting for the bus, the time went by slowly. This is a dangling modifier. Who was waiting for the bus? We don't know. So your task is to do something along those lines, to create a cartoon or a meme with a misplaced modifier. You can look online for examples, but you do need to create your own original one. You can draw it, by hand on a piece of paper, or you can use Google Drawing technology in order to create that. You can, if you use the online format, you can get images from online provided that they are free and you are not breaking any copyright laws. However, you can't just copy and paste a previously created modifier, cartoon, or meme. You can use a picture that's online to create your own meme or cartoon. Once they're all done, I'm going to print them or put up the ones that you've drawn on the bulletin board, and then your classmates are going to come by and identify which type of modifier error you wrote. Was it dangling, squinting, or misplaced? And then they're going to correct your sentence and put the modifier in the correct place. So go ahead and get started on that now.